Welcome into another edition of the Draft Academy podcast. Your host, Brandon Kravitz here, along with my guest of the week, Mac Loudermilk, fan favorite punter from those iconic UCF teams in 2017 and 2018. Mac, welcome to the show. How's life up in Georgia?
Thanks for having me, man. Life's great. I can't complain at all. Getting close to region play here up in Georgia in football, and just trying to make a strong push for the playoffs.
It looks like that beard is coming back too. So that was, are you recommitting to the beard?
We got a new head coach this year, and he said that one of the things that he does is he doesn't shave his face at all during the season. So that starts from June all the way through whenever our season ends, and he says he don't shave at all. So I was like, I'll do it with you. And so I've let this go out since June. It's getting a little annoying, to be honest. I forgot just how much it was to maintain the beard. But yeah, till the end of the season, it's growing out.
Do you kind of feel the pressure when you were playing at UCF to keep that thing going because it was such a part of your persona?
Pressure? No, it was just kind of just what I didn't want to shave off what I was kind of known for. But no pressure.
So right now, where we're at in the UCF season, big win over TCU the last time we saw this team play. How much have you kept up with the team from where you're at? And it seems like, just based on looking at your Twitter account, you're still pretty engaged with everything going on with the Knights.
Still engaged. I'm always going to be engaged. Proud alum. Love my 5 years there in Orlando. I want nothing but success for those fellows in that team. So I'm heavily involved, always watching whenever I can. Sometimes bumming an ESPN Plus account if I have to. But yeah, always if they're playing, I'm going to watch. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I was a little frustrated myself because it's, the subscriptions start to pile up, especially this time of year. Everything, I feel like I have so many. And then there was that first UCF game. I'm like, all right, where can I find this on TV? Sure enough, ESPN Plus. Had to fire up the subscription. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we can exchange information. We can end up with the cost. Hopefully ESPN isn't listening to this.
Yeah.
What about the grit that this team showed the last time they were out? Huge deficit, an awesome comeback. KJ Jefferson with banged up ribs. That felt like the gutsiest win in the Gus Malzahn era to me.
I think it was, and that's all I've wanted to see since Gus has taken the helm. It's just those dudes fighting, and I know it's hard with the transfer portal and everything. Like, you have to really make sure that when you use that portal that you get guys who are going to be about your culture and try to really advance your program and what you want to be, and not just look out for their own bag. But like that was the biggest thing that I didn't like last year, was just how if we're in that same position last year, we're not coming back and winning that game.
100%.
But those dudes have bought in. They're playing for each other. They're not pointing fingers. They're not getting an argument on the sideline whenever it easily could have happened. They fought until the very last play, to the very last drive, and they just competed. And that's all you want to see as a coach. You never want to see your kids quit and give up. You always want them to fight until that clock hits 0 in the fourth quarter, and then whatever the score is at that, as long as they fought, you can't be too ashamed of it.
Is that how you deliver that message to your team? You're a college or a high school football coach now. I heard a lot of UCF players after that game talking about how they actually got a speech from Gus Malzahn in the pregame meeting the day before, where he was talking about up 21, down 21. That's the mentality. It's always the same. Is that the same sort of message that you spit out to your players?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you have to, just because the players are different now, to where everyone's so used to instant success and instant gratitude that if it doesn't happen, people get discouraged. And so, like, working with young men now and just trying to boost their confidence up, boost their self-esteem, like, no matter, you're going to face adversity no matter what you do. It's part of life. You have the choice of whether you can suck it up and fight and try to improve where you are, or you can roll over and be a victim and just take what happens. Everyone has a choice. The choice is yours if you want to keep fighting or just roll over and die. And in that game, in football, you have to keep fighting, or else you're going to get embarrassed. And I believe that nobody ever wants to go out there and strap on pads and just get flat out embarrassed for the course of a game. You have to fight. If you don't, then it's not going to be a pretty ending for you.
Are they following the timeline you thought that they would follow as far as being really competitive in this conference? Last year didn't go the way that anyone would have wanted it to go for UCF, but it was also their first year in the Big 12. They got better as the year went along, and first game in Big 12 play, it seems like they're picking up where they left off. Is this sort of what you expected as you look back at this? You know, you move up a conference, life's going to get tougher with the
Mhm.
competition level. So does it sort of fit the timeline for you in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, with seeing how Gus recruited in his first 2 seasons, there's no reason why this shouldn't have been the timeline. What he said he wants to go out and recruit with his hair on fire. He has. He's brought in talent every year that he's been there. There's no denying that. Um, he knows he has great connections. He knows how to get kids on campus to view the area, to view the stadium, the community around it. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is perfectly on. I kind of was hoping it would be like this last year, but again, like you have to get some culture kids and guys who are going to play hard for you and buy into your system. Um, the kid from Cincinnati, Pace, I think is his name, unbelievable. That dude on defense he sets the tone, he sets the culture. He's a leader. Uh, I'm glad he's with us now. But yeah, I think this has kind of year two. I don't see why there's no reason why they're not competing for that Big 12 title.
What about this upcoming schedule? Colorado,
Brutal.
Florida. This has to be the greatest upcoming schedule. Cincinnati after that has to
Hmm.
be the greatest upcoming schedule that I've seen in UCF history.
Yeah, Colorado doesn't really scare me a whole lot. Like I know they got
Yeah.
Travis Hunter. I know they have Shadur Sanders, but their run defense is god awful. And so with how we run the ball, I don't see you got it. Their quarterback gets hit 15 times a game. If he's not throwing it to 12, then he's not really throwing it. He tries to sit in the pocket and hold it the ball for 7 seconds. I know our pass rush hasn't been great, but we've been just a couple seconds away from getting sacks and making big plays. Um, so they don't really scare me a whole lot. What scares me is Florida pissed off on a mission.
Yeah.
I don't think none of those players wants the head coach fired. I don't think that's the case. But he also knows. I kind of think that he's coaching for his job right now. And if we go out there and beat them at Gainesville, he may not walk off the field a coach still. And so I think there's that kind of pressure and that attitude behind that team. Um, we're going to beat. I think we should beat Cincy. I mean, they're not us. They never have been, never will be. Um, but it's just we have to get through Florida and stay focused on the task at hand. Play each week, 1 week at a time. As Heupel would say, you got to go 1-0. We can't look ahead to Florida right now, and we got Colorado to play. Got to go against Colorado, handle business, set the tone, show them how to play ball in Orlando, and then just move on week by week.
A lot of highly anticipated games there. Is there one that you can think of from your days? You had some big ones that you anticipated the most. Hard to sleep the night before. You're a little extra revved up day of, whether that's a big time bowl game against Auburn or a game day game against Cincinnati. Is there one that comes to mind for you?
There's a lot. The Peach Bowl was kind of one of the ones I can think of. I think we had a night game, so we didn't have an early wake up. I don't believe, or no, it was an afternoon game, so our wake up was like 8. But I might have slept for a total of 3 hours that night, just because me and Matt Wright were just laying there spitballing stuff back and forth. We couldn't fall asleep. That was a big one. Fiesta Bowl, not so much, just because it felt like we had been there before. We know what to do. Um, all the USF games are always like that to me. I always love to go, and the Memphis games.
Yep.
Memphis would play us hard, man. And I'd lay there at night wondering what kind of different exotic look they're going to give us on a punt rush or some type of special team that we haven't seen yet, and just pull out all the stops. But no, it was really the big games you could think of that you would kind of imagine somebody losing sleep over. Those are probably it. But that Peach Bowl probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I mean, you just gave me the whole list. The USF, those Memphis games are some of the most iconic games I've
Nail
seen
biters.
ever in college, period,
Yeah.
from all the games that I've watched. So I would imagine that that's the case. Well, I want to dig back into that TCU game real quick, and we're going to get into the performance side of everything as well here on the Draft Academy podcast. When you look at that game from a kicker's perspective, Colton Boomer struggled prior to the made extra point that gave UCF the lead. how lonely is that feeling on the sideline? And I know, he's a kicker, you're a punter, you live different lives, but it's still special teams. That
Yeah.
feeling that he has of, am I costing my team the game? And your position group is smaller. Maybe you don't have as many people on your side in that difficult moment. How lonely can that be?
Oh, it can be terrible just because, like you said, like you're kicking nets all the way on the other end of the sideline, away from everybody else. And if you're doing great, people are coming by, smacking you on your butt, telling you, "Hey, good job, great job, man." But when you're doing bad, it can sometimes get a little dicey over by that kicking net. That's when you just got to lean on your technique, lean on your position group. Yeah, it is small, but it's probably, if I had to imagine, it's a pretty tight knit group. I know ours was. All the travel guys normally hung right by Matt, hung by Perez, all those dudes. We would kind of venture off toward the end and just kind of chit chat with each other and keep everything going. But it can be nerve wracking. Just if I know that first one, I don't think that first miss, it kind of is and kind of is on him. Like you can tell when he planted, his foot slipped, like the grass gave way.
Yeah.
That's why it kind of came out a little bit low. That's just one of those freak things. You can't think too much about that. And then on the other two, we had some funky blocking up front. So like the one that he had to hit that really mattered, he made it. So that's great by me. But no, it can be a pretty lonely feeling whenever that happens. There's no doubt about that.
Speaking more to your world as a punter, what is it about that role that people can't appreciate? The task of the job itself. What makes punting so difficult?
I would say, and depending on your scheme and who you're playing, what their block scheme is, but you can kind of narrow it down to there's going to, at some point in that game when you go and punt, there's 9 times out of 10, there's going to be 10 guys who are hell bent on ripping the ball off your leg whenever you go and try to punt the ball. Like those, it's not like I know in high school right now we get a bunch of like defensive safe looks where they keep their big O line, their D line on the field. They'll drop one safety back to return the punt. They'll take corners and move them out of it. Like they're not the athletes that are in college. Like on those college special teams, it is the 11 best guys that they have on that team who are the fastest, the strongest, who are the most explosive to try and go and making a big time play on the special team. And so you have to kind of flush it and not think about it. Like for me as a punter, I'm thinking 3 things: catch, step, kick, catch, step, kick. My eyes aren't up. I can't look at the rush. I don't want to see all 10 of those ugly guys running at me, trying to rip my leg off. Because if I do, I'm going to screw something up with my plant, my drop, and my leg swing. So it's got to be muscle memory, and it just comes from reps and practice and trusting your guys that they're going to block their assignment right and to make sure that no one slips through scot-free and gets a big touch. So it's nerve wracking, but it comes down to muscle memory, trusting your dudes, trusting your protection, and then they just gotta hopefully hold off those 10 freaks from getting to you.
So why are they not sending all those bodies at the high school level? Is it just because the lack of confidence in the level of
No,
athlete to get there, or are they scared? Are you scared of the penalty?
no level. Heck with the penalty, I don't care. If they're punting and they get a first half penalty, so what? Then we're aggressive. My whole philosophy with the whole punt block and everything, I try to get my 11 best dudes out there to play that down. But those 11 best dudes aren't also 6'4", run a 4.5 40, and like it's just a different level of athlete at that next level.
Yeah.
But I want at least 3 people buzzing the punter's tower off of every block rep to make him kind of think in the back of his mind that, oh, they're getting kind of close. I got to speed up. I got to do something different to hurry this punt up, or else it is going to get blocked and the game is going to be on my shoulders. Because a lot of the times these high school kids, they're not collegiate punters. They're not going on to the next level. They're Jimmy and Joe from fourth block who are barely passing math class. And so like you have to just realize they don't have the mental toughness to just whatever. They're going to think about that the entire night. The more bodies you can get by them and kind of sketch them out, the better. And then sooner or later they're going to shank one, miss hit it. You're going to get a bad snap because you've tattooed the long snapper last time whenever he picked this up and started running. So now he's thinking about, I got to snap and try to make this guy miss. But I'd say there probably is a more of an importance placed on special teams at the collegiate level, just because one, you have the practice time to work everything. And two, you have guys who are coordinators who do nothing but sit there in their office and watch special teams film and try to find that one little gap in your protection they can exploit and go make a big play on. And so it's just stuff like that to where if I'm a coach in college and I got to sit here for 12 hours and watch film, I might as well be productive and try to find what you're not good at and find a way to exploit it. Whereas in high school, we have roughly 2 hours of practice. I got to go and teach during the day. I don't have all this time to watch film. And then I want to go home, eat dinner, sleep, and then wake up and go do all again. So it's just different responsibilities, different levels of it. But I try to, as much as I can, to make the same importance on the special teams is a very important part of the game. And you can win or lose the game just off of special teams alone.
Yeah, no doubt. How many hours would you spend training and practice at UCF?
The preseason matters a little bit more just because you want to get the volume built up to where your leg can handle all the kicks throughout the season. But then as the season rolls along, it's not as many kicks. It's more or less just fine tuning the stuff and making sure that my steps are good, my drops good. My leg swing is going to be my leg swing. I don't need to work on that a whole lot. It's the little parts that build up to the actual swing that really are important. If my strides get out of whack, then I'm going to end up sitting in a chair, swinging under a ball, and it's going to go very high, but it's not going to go far at all. And so just kind of making sure that your drops in the same spot, your steps are in the same places. Those are the important things because over the season, your leg's going to get tired. You're going to have a pulled hammy every now and then. For kickers, your hip's going to hurt. Your knee's going to hurt from planning and torquing on it. It is what it is. But you just kind of have to minimize or try to figure out, if I hit 30 balls on Monday, then I'm probably not going to kick Tuesday. But Wednesday, I may hit about 13 or 14 balls. And then Thursday, we may do some situational stuff to where that 12 number goes down to about 6 or 7 pooches, flip the field, stuff like that. Rest Friday, play Saturday. So it's kind of like a pitch count. For me, I try to get a ton of volume in preseason. I'm swinging as much as I can, trying to make sure I find what I like. If I'm trying to drive a ball, where do I want it dropped at? How do I want my steps? How do I want my grip on the ball itself? And then we start getting closer and closer to the first game, that number of kicks in a day is getting lower and lower and lower and lower. And then finally in a season, I may only kick 2 days out of the week, and it might be 40 balls total during that week. And then game time, it is what it is. But it's kind of just managing your body, making sure that, your leg can handle what it has to do. If it gets to a point to where you're feeling tired on Saturday and your leg's just not feeling as juiced, probably need to go back and look at Monday or Tuesday and figure out, am I hitting X amount of balls that are too many? I can kind of pull some off to kind of get the juices back in my leg for Saturday.
What's the better feeling, being able to boot the ball as far as you've ever seen it go, or that perfect coffin corner where you're just, that thing's bouncing right out of bounds, you're burying them at the 1 or 2 yard line?
I'm going to have to say coffin corner, just because every chicks like you drive for dough and putt for, or you drive for show, putt for dough. Like everyone can hit.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, that's like the drive versus the short game.
Yeah, there's no doubt anyone at the collegiate level and professional level can hit the long ball. I can drop this thing at my kneecap, swing as hard as I want to, and it's going to go 65, 70 yards in the air. Now, can my guys cover that? Probably not, because they don't run a 3-second 40-yard dash and can't get off a block and go and do it. The beauty with the coffin corner is I may be on the ball's on the 50-yard line. I'm standing back 15 yards farther. So I can still hit this ball 45 yards, 44 yards, 46 yards to where it lands on a specific hash with at least 4.4 to 4.5 seconds to hang. And if this guy has the nuts to hang up under there and try to catch it and return it, he's going to get either tattooed, he's going to muff it because of the spin I put on the ball, or he's going to try to let it bounce and go for a touchback. And my guys are down there setting a wall at the end line to where that ball is not going to go in that end zone. So I think just everything that has to go right for that pooch punt is what makes it just that much more special to me.
Yeah, and I had a feeling you'd go with that. that answer. You talk about the optimization and it's so interesting, and so many conversations that I have on this podcast channel are about exactly that. It's about finding the exact right amount of training to where you're able to be successful at the thing that you need to be successful at, be at the best without pushing yourself over the limit to where you can't perform when you're asked to. So how does your training differ in the weight room than other positions? What are you doing? I imagine it's a lot of lower body stuff, but like you just said, if you overdo it, you can put yourself into a precarious position as well. So what does that look like for you as a punter in the weight room as you prepare for the season? And then how does that change once you get into the year as you're just trying to hit that maintenance mode?
I never did anything different. Like the UCF staff never gave us a different workout compared to everyone else. Like position wise, we had different things, but they never had like, all right, kickers, you're going to go and just do leg press and then go home. It wasn't anything like that. We had to do all the team runs. We did all of the metabolic Mondays with Coach Duval. We did all the 10 set of 10 on squats with O'Leary's crew. We did all the same lifts, all the front squats, cleans, and everything that we did with Heupel's crew. There was nothing really different. It was just how you kind of organize things and kind of phase things in. So, like for me, like after I got done with UCF and I had to make my own workouts for staying in shape, for case anyone called, for all the free agent showcases I was doing, all that kind of stuff. Like I lifted like I was still playing tight end or fullback in high school, or my short times of tight end at UCF. Like I want to get as much volume and intensity in my legs as I can from with I would say January through the big free agent deals are normally in late spring. So I try and get as much volume from January, maybe November if I really need to, all the way through March. And then once March hits, I'm going to taper a little bit to where now if I was doing 5 set of 10 on squats, I'm going to drop that to 3 set of 3 at about 85 to 88% and still try to move some weight, but just not as much volume with it. Because what I found out with my body is if I took a week off or I tried to do lightweight, I didn't have the same oomph in my swing as I did if I did heavyweight. So like people thought I was crazy for trying to cling 315 and 335 and trying to squat 500, 600 pounds. But like, that's just what worked for my body. It's what kept because my legs aren't exactly super long levers. I'm 6'1" on a good day. So like my legs aren't these super long limbs like the guy at Green Bay, Johnny Hecker, super tall, AJ Cole, he's 6'4". Like all these NFL dudes are kind of getting longer and to where they can use their leg length as more of a lever to get the ball downfield. But with me and my short legs, I have to have power. Like I have to really get a hold of one to get that ball up in the air for it to hang. And so I would do a lot of hip flexor stuff, strengthening the hip flexor, using change resistance on knee drives, a lot of single leg squats. I love Olympic lifting just because it's a full body workout. I don't have to go and knock out 17 sets of bench press really to get the same type of emphasis I want on my upper body, because when I'm picking up 330 pounds from the floor and pulling it to my chin, it's using every muscle in my upper body, my back, my shoulders, my chest. And then when I go and press it, I'm getting a good shoulder workout and a good pec workout, having to stabilize that thing over my head and hold it.
How is that helping you as a punter to have that sort of upper body strength? What's the functionality of that?
With the upper body stuff, I mean, is there a big emphasis on upper body? Absolutely not. I'm not having to go and hat in hands a guy and get off the block and go make a play, but you also don't want to walk around looking like you can squat 500 pounds and can't pick up a 20-pound dumbbell. So I just kind of did that because I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time doing bicep curls and like a bodybuilder lift to where I'm not trying to isolate these things and make them look good. I want to be functional. Will I ever need to put 330 pounds over my head on a daily basis? Probably not. But one, it looks kind of cool if I can. But two, like I know my shoulders can handle that weight and that amount of load if need be for whatever reason were to come. And so like shoulder stability was a great reason. That was a way for me to make sure that my rotator cuff stayed healthy, that I could just press weight, I could lift weight. It doesn't matter if it's just for lower body, but I don't want to have that unbalanced where my upper body is nowhere close to my lower body. And core strength too. It takes a lot of like core, back, and abdominals to really hold that weight over your head. If you want to squat 500 pounds, you have to have a strong core and a strong back. You also have to have a strong upper back and shoulders to hold that weight on there. Even if you're just to pick the weight up, walk away from the rack and hold it for a 20-second count, you're working an isometric lift to where your body's still getting that neural adaptation to it. So you don't have to be anything crazy with it, but I don't see why you wouldn't want to pick up some heavy weight at some point in your training to kind of get your body used to that load and that type of stress to where it adapts to it. And then it becomes much easier if you are playing football, and then let's say if you are playing linebacker and you're having to really use your hat and hands to get off a block and then go make a play. Well, now your body's used to holding that type of stress and can stay aligned and stay tight to where you're not going to throw a shoulder out or you're not going to get bent over backwards when you go make this collision. Your body knows how to handle that type of force and that weight to where you can now use it on the football field.
I don't know if you ever questioned whether or not you're getting use out of your bachelor's degree, but I think that answer just solved that equation.
Yeah. So I mean,
was looking at you graduated the sports and exercise science degree. Is that correct?
Yep, that's
UCF.
it. Yeah.
Well, you can tell. Let me just put it out.
well, it's like for me, like because the plan A was to go play in the NFL. Plan B was to coach in college, and then Plan C was to coach in high school. Well, to coach in high school, you have to also be a teacher, and so in the grand scheme of things, with Plan C, I was going to be a weight room, health and PE weight room coach. I would get my master's from GAing somewhere, trying to coach in college. And if that didn't work out, I could fall back on my master's. I'm certified teacher. I can teach and coach in high school. But when I had my daughter, Plan B kind of got thrown out the window because I needed to go and work now and make some money. And so, like right now, I'm in my master's program through Valdosta State, and I'm working through just getting my PE certificate to where I can be a certified teacher. Because right now, I'm on what's called a provisional contract, to where I have to show I'm progressing to that degree or that certification overall. But
that's awesome.
So, like, yeah, I love looking into this. How can I better help the athletes? To me, it does you no good if you're in high school. Like, we're in a world now to where there is a ton of specialized training going on for these young athletes, to where even if they're a soccer player, they're not touching a barbell. They're doing nothing but body weight stuff. And I want to say why. Because you're not going to get your muscles stronger just by using body weight. You have to do so much volume in order for that to happen. If you were to slap a barbell on their back, and it ain't got to be anything crazy, throw 50 pounds on their back and make them single leg squat, then you're going to improve your single leg strength to where now you can go and make those cuts and bound and run like you need to on a soccer field, to where your body and your joints can handle that. So like the weight room has so many more benefits to where you don't need to just specialize in agility training or water bag training for some sports. Like, go and lift heavy weight, let your body adapt. And then once you have that basis of strength and you have that true, like, your body understands how to move in space, how to really handle accelerating and deaccelerating, then you can go and specialize from there. But until then, you're doing your body a disservice by just trying to do band workouts or water bag workouts or kettlebell workouts or any other thing. Just go and lift heavy weight, get strong. Once you have your basis of strength there, then you can specialize that and kind of fine tune how it's going to help you on your field play.
Matt Loudermilk was one of the best punters in college football during his time at UCF. He now coaches high school football up in Georgia, a true legend to Knights fans everywhere. I really enjoyed the chat. You're absolutely perfect for this channel. It's always nice catching up with you, Mac. Thanks so much for the time.
Oh, no problem, dude. Anytime you want to talk, hit me up.
Back at it next week with more from the Draft Academy. I've been your host, Brandon Kravitz. Till next time.